Completing the final step of refining a spirit pill is an extremely simple task, as all alchemists need to do is perform one final, straightforward action. Summon the heavenly thunder tribulation and temper the half-finished spirit pill. As long as the pill doesn't disintegrate during the tempering process, success is achieved. This is a test of control. In midair, after successfully tempering a half-finished spirit pill with ease, Xiao Yan, like the other successful alchemists at the gathering, quietly waited in midair for entry into the heavenly spirit dimension. However, those who were able to refine the pill as effortlessly as they did, in mere seconds, were a rare few. More people, like Yao Xin and others, chose to use pill furnaces in midair to complete the tempering of their half-finished pills. After finishing his own spirit pill, Xiao Yan focused on observing the refining process of Yao Xin and his companions. Among them, Yao Xin, Tian Maluo, and Yi Yin performed the best. After about 4 to 5 minutes of focused refining, they finally used the power of the heavenly thunder tribulation to complete their spirit pills. As for speed, they were among the first batch to finish, within 5 minutes, out of the tens of thousands of participants at the pinnacle of 10,000 pills. The second batch of completers were those who finished within 10 minutes. Yao Anren, Yin Dan, and Xiao Xuanzi were among them. More than half of the participants at the gathering fell into this category. Because of this, Yin Dan, who had originally lacked confidence, began to feel more assured. While he couldn't reach the excellence level at the gathering, he was at least considered average, which was slightly better than his initial expectation of finishing at the bottom. After Yin Dan and his companions, the final batch of completers at the gathering consisted of those like Zhu Feng and Bei Mingming, who could only be considered as junior-grade alchemists in the Dou domain. After spending roughly half an hour, Bei Mingming and her companions looked at the spirit pills they had successfully refined, finally sighing with relief. Swish, swish. After completing their own spirit pills, the 8 members of Yao Xin's group flew over to Xiao Yan's side, holding their pills. Among them, Yao Xin, Tian Maluo, and Yi Yin wore smiles, as they were the first batch to succeed. Bei Mingming, however, looked somewhat unhappy, while Zhu Feng had calmed his mindset. Xiao Yan simply smiled at their performances without offering any comments. Yao Xin and the others understood that this was merely a test before entering the heavenly spirit dimension. If they couldn't pass this, they wouldn't qualify for the rest of the 10,000 pills gathering. The spirit pill tempering test at the pinnacle of 10,000 pills lasted almost an hour. During this time, most people completed the test, while some, after failing several pills, reluctantly left the pinnacle of 10,000 pills. About 1/10 of the participants left, and after they departed, approximately 30,000 people remained. Once the remaining people were all successful, Dan Yu and Gao Yuan exchanged glances and smiled faintly. Heh, now that the remaining participants are all qualified for the 10,000 pills gathering, allow me, Dan Yu, and the Pill God clan to congratulate you. Dan Yu said to the 30,000 remaining participants, a calm smile on his face. Since you are all qualified, we will no longer waste your time. Please proceed directly into the heavenly spirit dimension. Next, under everyone's watch, Gao Yuan slowly turned and with a flick of his finger, a beam of light containing the power of a mysterious spatial force was projected toward the enormous spatial vortex at the pinnacle of 10,000 pills. Buzz. As the light beam entered, the chaotic and distorted spatial vortex began to flatten, gradually forming a transparent light screen. Through this massive, tens of thousands of feet wide light screen, all the remaining participants at the pinnacle of 10,000 pills could see an endless, vast world, with millions of black continents scattered across it. These were continents rich with various medicinal materials. Before the heavenly spirit dimension truly opened, most of the people at the pinnacle of 10,000 pills had only heard rumors about the dimension, but now, as the millions of medicinal material continents appeared before their eyes, they were truly stunned. This was the foundation of the Pill God clan and the ancient myriad grass plains. However, just as many of the powerful figures were shocked by the millions of continent-like lands in the heavenly spirit dimension, Xiao Yan, standing in one corner, narrowed his eyes slightly as he gazed at the inner realm of the heavenly spirit dimension. For some reason, he felt a strange familiarity with the arrangement of these lands, though he couldn't recall what exactly they corresponded to. Everyone, the time flow in the heavenly spirit dimension is 3 times slower than in the great thousand worlds. Make the best of these 2 years, Dan Yu's voice echoed atop the pinnacle of 10,000 pills. After his words fell, tens of thousands of figures on the pinnacle transformed into streaks of light, rushing toward the enormous barrier. Let's go. As many others darted toward the heavenly spirit dimension, Xiao Yan turned to Yao Xian behind him and said, then followed the countless figures as they sped toward the dimension. Soon after, Yao Xian and the other 8 also followed closely. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Countless sounds of air being torn apart echoed across the pinnacle of 10,000 pills. As everyone rushed toward the heavenly spirit dimension, Dan Yu and Gao Yuan, standing atop the pinnacle, raised their palms and flicked their fingers. When Dan Yu and Gao Yuan flicked their fingers, dozens of palm-sized lights streaked toward some of the people on the pinnacle. These lights were jade tablets, and those who received them were the ones with partial privileges from the 10,000 pills gathering. Xiao Yan, of course, also received a jade tablet. Whoosh! Before the barrier of the heavenly spirit dimension, a jade tablet, sent by Dan Yu, flew toward Xiao Yan. Upon seeing it, Xiao Yan immediately grabbed it, and as he did, a strange sensation flowed from the jade tablet into his body, rushing toward his mind. When Xiao Yan discerned what was flowing into his mind, he was slightly taken aback. It was the names and locations of all the medicinal herbs across the continent-like lands in the heavenly spirit dimension. Every year, the Pill God clan would grant privileges to 20 individuals, and so would the ancient myriad grass plains. Now, Xiao Yan, through Elder Gnome, had received this priority privilege. While other participants would need to painstakingly search for the herbs they needed, Xiao Yan, armed with the information on the locations of all herbs in the heavenly spirit dimension, would avoid much of the trouble. After obtaining the herb location information from the jade tablet, Xiao Yan's first instinct was to quickly create a copy of the information and pass it to Yao Xian and the others. However, after having this thought, Xiao Yan hesitated and ultimately decided against it. He knew that some things should be experienced by Yao Xian and the others personally. Overhelping them might sometimes backfire, like pulling up seedlings in an attempt to help them grow. This period was crucial for their real tempering, so they should rely on themselves to explore and find the things they needed. Whoosh! After abandoning the idea of excessive help, Xiao Yan decisively passed through the barrier in front of the heavenly spirit dimension. His vision was immediately filled with white light. A few moments later, as the white light dissipated, a completely new and endless world unfolded before his eyes. This was the heavenly spirit dimension. Upon arriving in the heavenly spirit dimension, Xiao Yan noticed that there were no other participants in sight. The 8 people who had been following him earlier, including Yao Xian, were also missing. Clearly, the light barrier just now wasn't a pure dimensional passage. It had been a random teleportation array. Now, all the participants, upon passing through the barrier, had been randomly transported to various parts of this vast world of medicinal herbs, spanning millions of miles. 2 years, huh? Looking at the empty expanse around him, Xiao Yan murmured to himself. He then took a deep breath, and with a swift motion, soared toward the distant horizon. In that direction, the outline of a continent slowly emerged. It was covered with countless mountain peaks, and every few peaks, a towering purple-leafed giant tree could be seen. Xiao Yan landed at the edge of the continent, his eyes fixed on a purple-leafed giant tree in the distance. He spotted a purple fruit growing on it, a high-level medicinal herb. Purple nectar fruit. Is this the western domain of the heavenly spirit dimension? Gazing at the fruit growing on the purple-leaf giant tree, Xiao Yan quickly confirmed his location within the heavenly spirit dimension based on the information displayed on the jade tablet from Dan Yu. The purple nectar fruit was one of the materials for refining a certain divine pill. In terms of value, a single purple nectar fruit in the Great Thousand Worlds is worth as much as 30 to 50,000 supreme spiritual liquids. Now, across this vast continent, every dozen or so mountain peaks grow a purple nectar spirit tree. If you were to count them, the number of these trees across the entire continent would likely be in the thousands or even tens of thousands, an unimaginable amount of wealth. But this is just the tip of the iceberg in the heavenly spirit dimension. Although the purple nectar fruit is an ingredient for divine pills, it is not what Xiao Yan needs. Therefore, after confirming his location, Xiao Yan turned directly and sped off toward a different direction. At the same time, far over 100 million miles away on the other side of the heavenly spirit dimension, another figure was swiftly flying over a continent. This figure was Yindan. Before entering the heavenly spirit dimension, Yindan had hoped to team up with Yao Xin and others to search for the materials they needed. However, the random dispersal of everyone had completely nullified his plans. So now, all Yindan could do was search step by step for the materials he needed. The heavenly spirit dimension is home to millions of medicinal material continents, so searching for the few specific herbs he needed is no easy task. After thinking for a while, Yindan came up with two methods. The first method is to rely on the sensing of spiritual energy in the environment to eliminate certain areas. Generally speaking, the higher-grade herbs will be surrounded by denser spiritual energy, and those containing fire attributes will be enveloped by hot, fiery energy. Similarly, other types of herbs will be surrounded by different kinds of elemental energy. By using this as a guide, the search area can be narrowed. The second method is to try to gather information from other participants of the 10,000 Pills gathering. At this moment, tens of thousands of participants had entered the heavenly spirit dimension, most of whom, like Yindan, immediately began searching for the herbs they needed. However, the vastness of the dimension meant that many people, after searching dozens or even hundreds of continents, still couldn't find what they were looking for. Even though they didn't find what they needed, many participants still recorded the locations of various herbs they found, and as more people gathered information, the map of the medicinal materials became fragmented. Each participant had a piece of the puzzle, and if they were lucky, they could use the information gathered by others to head directly to the place where their required herb was located. However, although Yindan had thought of these two methods, he knew they could not truly guarantee a smooth search for herbs. Luck was still a crucial factor. Yindan's goal was to refine a mysterious pill at the imperial grade's initial level. Back in a fragmented world, when Yindan was born, he was recognized as a natural talent for alchemy. After discussions within his clan, it was decided to name him Yindan and make him a bridge for the alliance between the Yin clan and the Yao clan. Growing up in the Yao clan, Yindan received top-tier alchemy training. In high-level alchemy competitions within the Yao clan, his performance rivaled that of their most talented alchemists. When Yindan successfully refined a 9-grade golden pill under the watchful eyes of the Yao clan's high-ranking members, his alchemy skills reached a level where he could learn the techniques for refining imperial-grade pills. After obtaining the method for refining the imperial-grade pill, Yindan went into seclusion to study it. However, despite his imperial realm soul and transcendent alchemy skills, after years of research, he still couldn't solve the problem of the imperial-grade pill. It wasn't until Xiao Yan began to combine the fragmented worlds that Yindan came into contact with a broader universe, which further solidified his resolve to refine that imperial-grade pill. Now, in the heavenly spirit dimension, with 2 years and an endless supply of herbs, Yindan was determined to use this opportunity to become an imperial-grade alchemist. I never expected that an imperial-grade alchemist in the Great Thousand Worlds would only be a mysterious alchemist. Above that, there are divine alchemists, heavenly alchemists. Yindan, flying through the air, let out a helpless laugh. The step he had once longed for now seemed like just the beginning of a new journey. But that's fine, because the road ahead is still long. Meanwhile, far across the dimension, there was a continent almost completely covered in searing lava. It was here that Yao Xin, another participant, had arrived. Luck is on my side. Looking at the sea of lava around him, Yao Xin smiled. He never expected his luck to be so good. Having only arrived in the heavenly spirit dimension just a few days ago, he had already found one of the rare medicinal materials he had been searching for. Yao Xin's gaze was fixed on the rolling lava below. However, at this moment, the sea of lava did not seem to be merely filled with surging molten rock to him. Through his perception, Yao Xin saw creatures beneath the lava, beings known as flame-devouring worms. These were fierce beasts native to the lower dimensions, and Yao Xin was familiar with them because he had encountered them in a shattered world he had once been in. Flame-devouring worms are creatures that are immune to the intense heat of lava. Although they have little intelligence, they live off the scorching molten rock. The lava they consume contains purer and fiercer energy, some of which accumulates in the hearts of the flame-devouring worms. Over hundreds of years, this accumulated power forms a substance known as flame essence, which is one of the crucial materials Yao Xian needs. Yao Xian took a deep breath as he looked at the sea of lava. After confirming that the flame-devouring worms were indeed swimming beneath the molten surface, he grinned. The next moment, Yao Xian raised his palm and slammed it down furiously on the sea of lava below. Boom! With Yao Xian's strike, an immense surge of spiritual power quickly gathered in front of him, forming a colossal hand several hundred feet in size. This hand, imbued with terrifying force, crashed into the sea of lava. The force of Yao Xian's palm was immense. The impact created a massive pit almost 10,000 feet deep on the surface of the lava sea. The size of the pit was so great that the constantly flowing lava couldn't fill it in a short period. However, at this moment, violent waves of energy surged from the molten lava beneath the pit. Sensing the raging waves of energy emerging from beneath the pit, Yao Xian smiled again. This strike was meant to draw the flame-devouring worms out, and in the next moment, his goal was achieved. Thousands, even tens of thousands, of black figures, each several dozen feet long, emerged from the lava below. They resembled maggots, but their numerous terrifying fangs seemed capable of devouring space itself. Swish, swish, swish. Next, the countless flame-devouring worms, disturbed by Yao Xian's strike, burst out from the lava, their terrifying fangs aiming at Yao Xian from all directions. A battle between man and monster was about to begin. While Yao Xian and Yin Dan took action for their respective goals, the others, Yao Anren, Xiao Xuanzi, Tian Maluo, and Zhu Feng, also began their own searches for medicinal materials according to their plans. The luckiest among the group were Bei Mingming and Yi Yan. Upon being randomly teleported to the heavenly spirit dimension, they had lucked out and arrived nearby, making them the first to reunite. However, while the 8 of them had all begun their tasks, Xiao Yan, who was millions of miles away from them, was doing something entirely different. After confirming his position, he had access to precise information about the location of all the medicinal materials, but he did not head to any of the material continents. At this moment, Xiao Yan hovered in the high sky, but this wasn't above any medicinal material continent. Instead, it was high above the entire heavenly spirit dimension. In this vast deep space, nearly 1 billion miles high, the air was almost non-existent. But from this position, Xiao Yan could clearly see the entire appearance of the heavenly spirit dimension. Xiao Yan was observing the distribution of all the transformed continents below. Hovering in mid-air, Xiao Yan took in the whole heavenly spirit dimension with a panoramic view. He could see the hundreds of thousands of medicinal material continents below. Through his perception, he could even clearly sense the breath of thousands of beings traveling between these continents. Usually, at such a height, if one possessed sufficient power, participants in the 10,000 pills gathering could quickly locate the medicinal materials they needed. However, Xiao Yan was not here to search for materials. What he wanted to understand was the relationship between these medicinal material continents. This decision came suddenly. Before entering the heavenly spirit dimension, Xiao Yan had felt a strange familiarity with the distribution of these hundreds of thousands of continents. This didn't mean that Xiao Yan had seen everything in the heavenly spirit dimension, but rather that he had seen a similar distribution somewhere else. About 9 years ago, when Xiao Yan had just arrived in the Great Thousand Worlds, he went to the Central Heaven continent to rescue Kailin, accompanied by He Yuan Yun and others. Under the guidance of Wu Wanlong, they first sought help from the Grand Myriad Heavenly region. Xiao Yan recalled that Wu Wanlong had once told him some stories about the Grand Myriad Heavenly region during ancient times. The Grand Myriad Heavenly region is the territory of the Grand Myriad Heavenly Palace, where the spiritual energy is several times denser than in the outside world. Within this territory, there are over 100,000 cities, which, if connected, form a grand formation known as the Grand Myriad Formation, a world-spanning array. The Grand Myriad Formation is the defensive array of the Grand Myriad Heavenly Palace, so powerful that it is rarely seen today. It only activates when the existence of the Grand Myriad Heavenly Palace is in danger. However, it is said that during the world-ending war tens of thousands of years ago, the Grand Myriad Heavenly Palace activated the Grand Myriad Formation, using it to directly erase two Heavenly Emperor-level powerhouses from the Extra-territorial clan. After that, the extraterritorial branches attacking the Grand Myriad Heavenly Palace were forced to retreat in defeat. Using the world as the formation disk, gathering the spiritual energy of all things. Looking at the vast continent of medicinal materials below, Xiao Yan murmured to himself. He had finally realized that, if his guess was correct, this heavenly spirit dimension itself was a world-spanning array. By harnessing the dense spiritual energy derived from billions of medicinal materials, combined with the fact that the heavenly spirit dimension was tens of times larger than the Grand Myriad Heavenly region, if it truly functioned as a world-spanning formation, the power it could unleash would be terrifying. Even the Earth's supreme expert at great perfection might not be able to withstand it. 8,000 years ago, the True Dragon and True Phoenix clans ended their campaign against the Pill God clan and the ancient Myriad Grass Plains. Could it be because of this world-spanning formation? Xiao Yan thought to himself. However, he quickly reconsidered, no. Even if this is a world-spanning formation, the heavenly spirit dimension itself is still a lower dimension world, while the True Dragon and True Phoenix clans are in the Great Thousand Worlds. If they were to engage in battle, the heavenly spirit dimension wouldn't be able to move to the Great Thousand Worlds to attack the True Dragon and True Phoenix clans, so it would only be a matter of enduring the fight. But why are the True Dragon and True Phoenix clans still so wary of the Pill God clan and the ancient Myriad Grass Plains? Xiao Yan wondered, and the only possibility that came to his mind was, the heavenly spirit dimension was a world that had long since transcended the lower dimension category and could be carried like the heavenly tomb. With such a mobile dimensional canon, the Pill God clan and the ancient Myriad Grass Plains had the terrifying means to strike at the True Dragon and True Phoenix clans' powerhouses with ease. It was evident that the heavenly spirit dimension had been transformed. Phew. With this guess about the true nature of the heavenly spirit dimension, Xiao Yan exhaled deeply. Though he didn't know how the Pill God clan and the ancient Myriad Grass Plains had managed to transform a top 3 super lower dimension world, he was now certain that this transformation was directly linked to the retreat of the True Dragon and True Phoenix clans. However, Xiao Yan wasn't interested in getting involved in such conflicts between the giants of the Great Thousand Worlds. He had crossed countless miles to come here simply to solve a doubt in his mind. Now, although everything was still just speculation, he wasn't planning to investigate further, because these matters were none of his concern. Xiao Yan slowly turned around. What he should be doing now was looking for the medicinal materials he needed and refining a pill. His goal was to refine a high-level heavenly pill based on the heavenly spirit pill formula he obtained in the floating mystic domain, after making his own modifications. This was for the purpose of healing Xiao Zhao's damaged soul and bloodline. Just as Xiao Yan turned, 2 figures suddenly appeared in his line of sight, causing his heart to shake. His pupils constricted sharply in that instant. Xiao Yan stared at the 2 figures who had been standing behind him for an unknown amount of time. His gaze was filled with surprise because these 2 individuals were Dan Yu and Gao Yuan. What astonished him even more was that they were only about 10 paces away from him, and yet Xiao Yan had not sensed their arrival at all. Though Dan Yu and Gao Yuan were both heavenly supreme experts, a level higher than Xiao Yan, who could completely control a dimensional embryo, knew they shouldn't have been able to get so close without him noticing, unless there was another possibility. Long time no see, Lord of the Do Domain. The first to speak was Gao Yuan, who pressed down on his green cane and smiled at Xiao Yan. I have a curious mind, so I wanted to ask, what are you doing here? The plateau raised his eyebrows, just as he had mentioned before. This place was deep space at a height of nearly 100 million miles. To overlook the entire medicinal herb continent, only 1/10 of this height would suffice. Moreover, the plateau hadn't yet told Xiao Yan that, according to the rules of the previous 10,000 pills gathering, any participant was not allowed to venture into deep space above 10 million miles in height. Beyond that point, it was a forbidden zone. You two are the hosts of the 10,000 Pills Gathering. If you have something to say, there's no need for such roundabout words. Xiao Yan looked at Danyu and the plateau before him, his eyes flickering with a trace of light, as if he had noticed something. Heh, as expected of the Lord of the Do domain, your thinking is incredibly sharp. Even that thing, you almost saw it directly. When the plateau heard Xiao Yan's words, he smiled again and said. Hearing this, Xiao Yan smiled as well. He knew that in this 10,000 Pills Gathering, he was already a rule breaker. Although he didn't know how serious the violation was, it would undoubtedly have an impact on his participation in the next two gatherings of the 10,000 Pills Gathering, even though Xiao Yan had the status of a distinguished guest and certain privileges. Now, Danyu and the plateau had caught him on the spot but hadn't imposed any punishment directly. Xiao Yan immediately realized that they had other intentions. However, he couldn't yet guess what their motives were. Let me handle it, Danyu said to the plateau beside him, then turned his gaze to Xiao Yan. I won't beat around the bush. It's clear that your arrival here was no coincidence. And now, you should have already noticed the strange distribution of all the medicinal herb lands in this heavenly spirit dimension. This heavenly spirit dimension itself should be a movable heavenly spirit array, right? Xiao Yan, upon hearing Danyu, did not hesitate to voice the guess he had formed earlier. Heh, it seems neither the plateau nor I were wrong about you. Your thought process is indeed extraordinary. Although over the past tens of thousands of years, the 10,000 Pills Gathering has been held more than 1,000 times. You're the first person in 1,000 years to notice this, Danyu said. Indeed, this heavenly spirit dimension is a heavenly spirit array. Is it meant to deal with the True Dragon and True Phoenix clans? Xiao Yan asked. However, to Xiao Yan's surprise, Danyu shook his head at Xiao Yan's question, offering a helpless smile. The Pill God clan and the ancient myriad grass plains are both major powers in the Great Thousand Worlds. We can still clearly see the pros and cons of any internal conflicts with other great powers in the Great Thousand Worlds. Oh? So the Pill God clan and the ancient myriad grass plains are not targeting the True Dragon and True Phoenix clans? Xiao Yan asked. Then who is this prepared for? Heh, some things concern the survival of our two clans. It's not appropriate for you to ask so casually, Danyu said with a calm smile. I know that you, Emperor Yin, are an extraordinary talent, and the potential of your Do domain world under your command is limitless. In the future, it is highly likely to grow into an existence on par with the lower dimension alliances like the Land of 10,000 Graves and the Western Heaven Palace. What are you thinking? Xiao Yan's eyes flashed with a hint of light again. I think that while the Pill God clan and the ancient myriad grass plains are not the supreme rulers of the Great Thousand Worlds, we do have a plan that may be related to the fate of the Great Thousand Worlds, Danyu said. I wonder if you, Emperor Yin, and your Do domain world, would be interested in joining us? A plan related to the fate of the Great Thousand Worlds? Upon hearing Danyu's words, Xiao Yan's brow furrowed. He then recalled what Danyu had just said about some matters concerning the survival of the Pill God clan and the ancient myriad grass plains. What could these matters be? Does it have something to do with the extra-territorial clan? Xiao Yan asked with a doubtful voice. After all, besides internal issues that could affect the fate of the Great Thousand Worlds, another significant possibility was the extra-territorial clan, who had always been coveting the Great Thousand Worlds. The world-ending war from tens of thousands of years ago had been a terrifying lesson. Since you're a cautious person, you should have noticed some signs of changes in the world, Danyu said to Xiao Yan. Not long ago, two major events occurred. Although most people in the Great Thousand Worlds are still unaware of them, those of our level won't fail to understand their significance. The extraterritorial clan first destroyed the Sacred Alliance and the Guardian Realm from the Lower Dimension Alliance, and then, on the edge of the Great Thousand Worlds, they tentatively engaged in large-scale battles with the Primordial Divine Clan. What they will do next, we do not know, but we can foresee that their next move will come soon. In the past, if the extraterritorial clan wanted to destroy the Sacred Alliance or the Guardian Realm, they would have used the most inconspicuous methods, taking hundreds or even thousands of years to do so, not directly assembling overwhelming power to crush them. Although the extraterritorial clan has been attacking the lower dimension worlds for tens of thousands of years, only a fraction of the lower dimension worlds have been destroyed. From this, it is clear that the extraterritorial clan employs the frog in boiling water approach. They have enough patience and a precise plan. However, in the past 10 years, the movements of the extraterritorial clan have been extremely abnormal. They accomplished what would have taken thousands of years in less than 10 years. They destroyed 2 major lower dimension alliances to avoid expending too much energy on lower dimension worlds when launching a world-ending offensive. Their large-scale battles with the primordial divine clan at the edge of the Great Thousand Worlds were a test of the Great Thousand Worlds reaction. All of these things point to one conclusion that we can easily guess, right? Across from Danyu and the others, Xiao Yan, after hearing their explanation, furrowed his brow even deeper. He had to admit that in the relatively peaceful environment of the Great Thousand Worlds, Danyu could foresee the future progression of the world through the events happening behind the calm. In this regard, Danyu was far stronger than most leaders of major sects and forces. It was an attitude of being cautious even in times of peace. So, clan leader Danyu, are you suggesting that before the second world-ending war occurs, we need to join forces and make full preparations? Xiao Yan asked. Preparing is necessary, but if it's just about preparation, there's no need for the Do domain to join our plans. Moreover, there are other ancient races in the Great Thousand Worlds who are aware of this as well. Even among those preparing, we are not the first ones, Danyu replied. Oh, so preparation is just part of the plan? Xiao Yan asked. Those who can sense the coming destruction are not few. The difference lies in how they respond to it. Making adequate preparations is one response, but it is not the most clever one, Danyu explained. No matter how we prepare, the position of the extraterritorial evil clan remains unchanged. They are always coveting the Great Thousand Worlds. In this case, the ancient forces of the Great Thousand Worlds, no matter how much they prepare, will always be at a disadvantage. Always at a disadvantage. Hearing Danyu's words, Xiao Yan murmured softly. Looking at Danyu, he said, "It seems that clan leader Danyu wants to change this passive situation. Changing it is naturally better than keeping things the same, isn't it?" Danyu said. Upon hearing this, Xiao Yan smiled slightly. Indeed, if the passive situation could be changed, it would be far better than the current state. And he had roughly guessed the means to change this situation. The first was relying on the heavenly spirit dimension and the destructive force of the heavenly destruction array, which even the great perfection Earth Supreme could not withstand. The second was to join forces with other top-tier powers in the Great Thousand Worlds. Judging from the hint in Danyu's words, Xiao Yan had no doubt that Danyu harbored the intention of being the first to launch a world-ending war against the extraterritorial evil clan. Although some forces in the Great Thousand Worlds might have foreseen the impending destruction brought by the extraterritorial evil clan, it was a mad idea like Danyu's to prepare for an active strike against the extraterritorial world. Xiao Yan doubted there was anyone else who had such a plan. However, Xiao Yan still had other questions. Clan leader Danyu, although your plan is grand and visionary, you should be well aware of the vast amount of power required to implement it. As of now, even the primordial divine clan and the myriad spirit divine clan in the Great Thousand Worlds can barely gather enough strength to carry out your plan. Even if the Do domain world and your clan join forces, it would be difficult to compete with either the primordial divine clan or the myriad spirit divine clan, let alone do something they themselves cannot accomplish, Xiao Yan said. Instead of doing this, why not inform the primordial divine clan and the myriad spirit divine clan about your proposal? If these two dominant clans join forces, there might be a slim chance of success. However, Danyu's next words were beyond Xiao Yan's expectations and caused a slight shock in his heart. If the fate of the Great Thousand Worlds is left in the hands of the two stubborn and outdated allied clans, the primordial divine clan and the myriad spirit divine clan, then the Great Thousand Worlds will surely be destroyed, Danyu said, looking at Xiao Yan. Although these two clans gathered the forces of the Great Thousand Worlds through the Great Thousand Gathering a few years ago, it was merely a passive measure. Their arrogance and outdated methods have been well known for a long time. I'm sure you've experienced it yourself. Danyu's words were a shock to Xiao Yan. While Xiao Yan knew there had been some conflict between the Pill God clan, the ancient myriad grass plains, and the myriad spirit divine clan. Hearing Dan Yu outright reject the primordial divine clan and the myriad spirit divine clan was shocking. In Xiao Yan's eyes, this was a reckless statement. If the two divine clans found out, the consequences would be unimaginable. As for Dan Yu's words, Xiao Yan did not deny them. He had experienced the primordial divine clan's arrogance not long ago, and the myriad spirit divine clan's arrogance and outdated methods had been experienced by the Pill God clan 1,000 years ago. This was the reason why the Pill God clan didn't trust the primordial and myriad spirit divine clans. Dan Yu seemed to have a plan to establish a new power, one that would not only be equal to the primordial and myriad spirit divine clans, but surpass them and become the new protector of the Great Thousand Worlds. However, Xiao Yan's greatest concern was still about the power and foundation required for such an undertaking. Clan leader Dan Yu, your plan may not be impossible, but given the current state of things, it seems out of reach. At least, it seems unlikely to be realized before the Second World-Ending War. Of course we have new methods. As for the increase in battle power, from the very beginning, we didn't plan to gather enough strength to directly counter the Extra-territorial evil clan. The Extra-territorial evil clan possesses hundreds of heavenly emperor-level experts who can contend with Earth Supremes, and there are thousands of Earth Sovereign-level evil demons. There are also tens of thousands of ordinary Imperial-level experts. Gathering enough strength to resist them, as you said, is indeed out of reach, said Gao Yuan, standing beside Dan Yu. So, to complete this plan, we must seek other methods. Then what is the method of the Highland Lord? Xiao Yan asked. Upon hearing Xiao Yan's question, the Highland's gaze narrowed slightly. He looked towards Dan Yu standing nearby, and the two exchanged a brief glance. After a moment, Dan Yu turned to the Highland and said, "Tell him the plan." "Can we trust him?" the Highland asked. In response, Dan Yu shifted his gaze back to Xiao Yan. After locking eyes with him, Dan Yu said, "We can trust him, and he will definitely join." "I hope so," the Highland murmured. He then flicked his finger, sending a round jade the size of a dragon's eye flying towards Xiao Yan. This was a message pill, a special spiritual pill used by alchemists to transmit information. Only alchemists could extract the information contained within. Xiao Yan took the message pill from the Highland and crushed it. Immediately, an overwhelming flood of information surged into his mind. It was a jumble of countless medicinal ingredients and alchemical methods, but these fragments were arranged in a bizarre way, so only an alchemist could decipher them. After spending several minutes, Xiao Yan finally pieced together the information and realized that it pointed to a single, cohesive plan. This was the true plan of Dan Yu and the Highland. Initially, Xiao Yan approached it with a detached attitude, but as he began to understand the full extent of the plan, his heart was filled with shock and disbelief. Incredible! This was a super plan that combined alchemists, spiritual array masters, and battle formation masters. What astonished Xiao Yan even more was that this plan intended to use the power of lower dimensions. Thousands of years ago, the extraterritorial evil races used the lower dimensions as springboards to launch attacks from all sides against the Great Thousand Worlds. Now, this plan was attempting to use the lower dimensions' power to strike back at the extraterritorial world. However, the sophistication of this plan was far beyond the springboard strategy used by the evil races. After learning about this terrifying and grand plan, Xiao Yan looked around at the heavenly spirit dimension with a stunned expression. He had initially thought this was just a movable spiritual array that could be shifted at will, but he had no idea how the Pill God clan managed to move it undetected by the outside world. Now, Xiao Yan finally understood the true nature of this dimension. No wonder it could nurture millions of medicinal herbs. It turned out that the heavenly spirit dimension was such an existence, and only such an existence could accomplish these feats. So, what do you think? Are you interested in this plan? After Xiao Yan understood the plan, Dan Yu asked. Hearing this, Xiao Yan slowly shifted his gaze from the surrounding world to Dan Yu and the highland ahead of him. He took a deep breath and said, "Do domain will join this plan. My Do domain will join this plan." Xiao Yan looked directly at Dan Yu and the highland. His firm declaration reverberated through space, echoing into the void. Upon hearing this, Dan Yu and the highland exchanged a glance and smiled faintly. It seems just as you said. He truly will join, the Highland said, smiling lightly at Danyu. Of course he will join. It's not just us. He needs this power too. Danyu replied, smiling as he looked at Xiao Yan. Half a year ago, when Xiao Yan arrived at the Pill God clan and entered the Nine Valleys realm for seclusion, Danyu, curious about him, had sent a high-ranking elder to the Relic Continent's primordial ancient dragon clan to inquire about Xiao Yan's matters. Through this exchange, Danyu learned about the origins of the Do domain world. Using various methods, Danyu obtained information that Xiao Yan had never shared with anyone. Information about a grand ambition left behind by an ancient dragon emperor. I'm not mistaken, am I, Emperor Yan? Danyu asked, looking at Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan smiled faintly and nodded. Just as Danyu had predicted, he needed this power, whether to protect the Do domain world or fulfill the Dragon Emperor's grand ambition. By the way, are there any other participants in this so-called Domain Guardian plan, apart from the Pill God clan and the ancient Myriad Grass Plains? Xiao Yan asked. From the message pill, he had learned that the plan was called the Domain Guardian Plan, a clear concept to protect the world within the domain, the Great Thousand Worlds. Xiao Yan's rough estimate was that at least a dozen Heavenly Supreme Experts and several hundred Earth Supreme Experts were needed. Although this number was less than 1/10 of the strength of the Extra-territorial clan, it was still more than half of what the Pill God clan and ancient Myriad Grass Plains could muster. Even with the addition of the current Do domain world, they were still 7 or 8 Heavenly Supreme Experts short of the minimum requirement to carry out the plan, not counting the Earth Supreme Experts. Besides the Pill God clan and the ancient Myriad Grass Plains, we also managed to pull another powerful force into the plan a century ago, Danyu said, mentioning a name that left Xiao Yan momentarily stunned. Heavenly Palace. Heavenly Palace? Xiao Yan was taken aback. The Heavenly Palace was one of the largest lower dimension alliances in the Great Thousand Worlds today. Its origin traced back to one of the top 10 super lower dimensions, the Sky Divine Realm, which ranked 4th among the top 10 super lower dimensions. The Sky Divine Realm was an unusual lower dimension where all the continents floated in the sky. The current Palace Master of the Heavenly Palace had broken through the barriers of the Sky Divine Realm and was now a transcendent powerhouse whose strength far surpassed that of ordinary Heavenly Supreme Experts. Moreover, the influence of the Heavenly Palace in the lower dimensions extended widely. Aside from its own Sky Divine Realm, it also controlled over 1,000 diverse lower dimensions in its vicinity. With the inclusion of the Heavenly Palace, the chances of success for the Domain Guardian plan would undoubtedly rise. Additionally, the plan required the involvement of nearly 1,000 lower dimensions, and the Heavenly Palace was perfectly positioned to provide these. As for the Grandmaster of Alchemy, the Grandmaster of Spiritual Arrays, and the Heavenly Grade Battle Formation Masters required for the plan, we don't need a Grandmaster of Alchemy at the moment. For the Heavenly Grade Battle Formation Master, we plan to pull in the Undying Lord of the Land of 10,000 Graves. However, he has always been a solitary figure, so if he refuses to participate, we will have to look for another candidate. Danyu continued. I believe the Martial Ancestor from the Martial Realm is a huge potential asset, Danyu added. He has mastered a unique battle formation technique that can turn all the elements of heaven and earth into an army of battle intent with the power to destroy the world. Martial Ancestor? Xiao Yan's brow furrowed. He had heard that name before. After the completion of the Do domain world, Xiao Yan had learned some details about the current situation of the Great Thousand Worlds. Through various sources, he learned about a person from the same period as him, who had come from a lower dimension to the Great Thousand Worlds. This martial ancestor had recently established a faction called Martial Realm in an area near the Ice Spirit clan known as the Wandering Realm. The faction was growing at an incredibly fast pace. Martial Ancestor, you say? If he truly has the immense potential we need, I will personally go to the Martial Realm to discuss this with him. As for the Undying Lord of the Land of 10,000 Graves, we shouldn't give up hope on him just yet, Danyu said, then looked at Xiao Yan and added, You came to the 10,000 Pills gathering to establish your reputation in the alchemist world of the Great Thousand Worlds, right? Yes. Xiao Yan nodded. He had been preparing for this for half a year. Although it was recommended by Elder Gnome, Xiao Yan was indeed hoping to use this peak gathering to expand the influence of the Do domain and recruit more strong experts to strengthen the Do domain. Back when he was in the Do Qi continent, Xiao Yan had also participated in the 9-tier alchemist duel within the Pill Tower, which established his reputation in the alchemist world. The Domain Guardian plan cannot be completed overnight. We must remain patient and try not to let the Primordial Divine Clan and the Myriad Spirit Divine Clan learn of it, as their power could easily erase our existence. They won't quietly watch us carry out this plan. Both the Primordial Divine Clan and the Myriad Spirit Divine Clan would never stand idly by while a force that posed a severe threat to their existence emerged in the Great Thousand Worlds. At present, the extraterritorial worlds were the greatest external threat, and the Domain Guardian plan initiated by the Pill God clan was meant for the Great Thousand Worlds. However, from a strategic perspective, it was also a terrifying bomb for the Primordial Divine Clan and others. Xiao Yan understood this and realized the importance of what he needed to do. To use the 10,000 pills gathering to enhance the influence of the Do domain. This would be the greatest support for the Domain Guardian plan. However, facing such a terrifying force, Xiao Yan couldn't help but feel some trepidation. Such caution would surely also be felt by Danyu and the others. Although they were currently allied, no one could truly guarantee that this terrifying power wouldn't be used against their own allies in the future. But the safety of allies was a matter for later. Right now, Xiao Yan knew what he had to do. Make his presence felt at the 10,000 pills gathering. Establishing your reputation at the 10,000 pills gathering won't be an easy task, Gao Yuan chuckled. There are 3 levels in alchemy. The lower level refines pills, the middle level refines people, and the highest level refines heaven. These levels are clearly distinct, with each one being a world apart. Heaven refining technique? Xiao Yan murmured softly. He was well aware of the meaning behind the phrase those below refine pills, those in the middle refine people, and those above refine heaven, and he understood the significant difference between pill refining in the Great Thousand Worlds and the highest level of pill refining in the lower dimensions, which could be directly inferred from this saying. The so-called refining pills below refers to all alchemists below the level of heavenly alchemists. In this tier, whether the pill being refined is a spirit pill, a mysterious pill, or even a divine pill, the refining process always involves extracting various medicinal materials. No matter how advanced the materials are, they still belong to the category of refining pills at a lower level. Refining people. In the middle refers to the realm above pill refining, where the focus shifts from refining pills using multiple medicinal materials to directly using human bodies as the main ingredient. In this stage, although precious medicinal materials are still required, the goal is no longer to create pills. Instead, people themselves are used as materials, refined through a combination of herbs and other techniques to eliminate impurities that prevent their cultivation or to transform dangerous traits into advantageous qualities. Xiao Yan himself had used the refining people technique to convert the poisonous body of a young girl from the relic continent into a beneficial asset for her cultivation, which was a clear example of refining people. However, above the realms of refining pills and refining people lies the highest level of pill refining, a stage so difficult to attain that most alchemists are unaware of its existence. Heaven refining technique. The so-called heaven refining technique surpasses the use of both medicinal materials and human bodies as ingredients. At this level, the materials required are all of heaven and earth itself. Everything in the universe, encompassing heaven, earth, space, and energy, is used as raw material, combined with pill refining techniques to ultimately merge and create a form of pill known as the heaven refining technique. Pills refined through this technique contain an entire world within them. Xiao Yan guessed that the super heavenly pill found in the heart of the supreme elder he encountered in the Pill God clan was likely created using the heaven refining technique. In that elder's body, there seemed to be another world within. Moreover, Xiao Yan had learned another terrifying fact from the Domain Guard plan. The heavenly spirit dimension he was currently in was also a world created by the heaven refining technique, a sacred pill of heaven and earth. 1,000 years ago, when the Pill God clan and the ancient Myriad Grass Plains were facing the annihilation threat from the Myriad Spirit Divine clan, The previous clan leader of the Pill God clan and the former leader of the ancient Myriad Grass Plains sacrificed their lives to create a miracle that shocked the Myriad Spirit Divine clan. They used the heavenly spirit dimension as the material to refine a sacred pill of heaven and earth. This pill featured continents as patterns within its internal world and formed a spirit array of heaven and earth. If activated, this pill would unleash a terrifying power that even the Earth's supreme expert at great perfection could not resist. The heavenly spirit dimension itself is a sacred pill, which is the true reason it can move freely and cultivate millions of medicinal materials. The sacred pill absorbs large amounts of spiritual energy from the great thousand worlds every moment, and its power can be triggered with less effort than an upper-level heavenly supreme expert requires. The enormous price paid by the Pill God clan and the ancient Myriad Grass Plains created this phenomenon, forcing the Myriad Spirit Divine clan to abandon any plans to erase them. Even attempts to raid the Pill God clan were forbidden before the heavenly spirit dimension's power was activated. The heaven refining technique represents the ultimate goal of every alchemist. Thus, when Xiao Yan heard about this technique, his expression turned serious. To stand out at the 10,000 pills gathering, he would have to reach the heaven refining level. This would be an unprecedented trial for him, as the number of alchemists capable of performing heaven refining in the great thousand worlds is extremely limited. Let's see, Danyu said to Xiao Yan. In the Domain Guard plan, the heaven refining technique is also an essential element. If you really want to participate, this is a hurdle you must overcome. Xiao Yan fell silent upon hearing this. Indeed, the Domain Guard plan required the assistance of the heaven refining technique. As Danyu had pointed out, if Xiao Yan couldn't even master the heaven refining technique, his help would be severely limited in the plan. Xiao Yan's serious expression gradually shifted into a smile. He understood that Danyu had sought him out because he believed Xiao Yan had the potential to reach that level. The heaven refining technique, the ultimate realm of pill refining. The words, filled with determination, rang out from Xiao Yan's mouth. He firmly believed that no matter what formidable obstacles lay ahead, he would surely overcome them. Even the heaven refining technique, regarded by all high-level alchemists as the ultimate goal, would undoubtedly be mastered by him.